Hey everybody, it's Sunday, which means it's time for Games of the Week, where I look ahead at the upcoming week in the NHL and pick out which games I think will be the best, most exciting, and most entertaining games to watch this week. Uh, Interesting week this week. There are a lot of games, but there's certain days that really stand out as having the best schedule, in my opinion. Before we get fully into it, I just ask that you please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't yet. It helps out so much and is greatly appreciated. But let's take a look at this coming week in the NHL. So first, we have today, Sunday the 21st, and we have the outdoor game between the Flyers and the Bruins. Hopefully this goes a little more smoothly than yesterday's did. Obviously, I don't even want to get into that. I did a video on it. That was not a good situation for the NHL to blow their biggest TV spot of the regular season. But at least for today's game, they moved it later. It's at 7:30 now. The sun should be, will be starting to go down by the time that they start this game, which means the ice should be in much better condition. And they should be fine to play that tonight without any issues. So Flyers, Bruins, outdoors, huge game. Not only in the East Division, but just the spectacle of the outdoor game as well. And I'm hoping that that's a really fun one to watch. It should be. Moving on now to tomorrow, Monday the 22nd. I have Tampa Bay versus Carolina and Vegas versus Colorado. Obviously, they played yesterday. They're playing again on Monday. Always a great matchup when Vegas and Colorado meet up. I mean, two of the best teams in that West Division, and they're going to be fighting it out all year, trying to get into first place there. So that's going to be a huge matchup. They play really close games against each other as well. And then for Carolina and Tampa Bay, I mean, you're looking at two teams fighting for first place in the Central, along with some other teams like Chicago and Florida who are in there as well. But Tampa Bay and Carolina are two of the best teams in that division. They're a lot of fun to watch. The Lightning haven't been that great as of late, and Carolina beat them yesterday. So these teams play a lot this week, and I'm excited to see how it goes. I really want to see a bounce back performance from Tampa because things haven't been going all that swimmingly for the Tampa Bay Lightnings the last week or so. Moving on now to Tuesday, 23rd, we have Pittsburgh and Washington. I mean, it's Pittsburgh, Washington. They're great matchups. Longtime rivals, Crosby versus Ovechkin, two teams fighting for playoff positioning. Always a really exciting, fun game, and they're going to be on this list every time they play, and they are again this week. And we also have Chicago versus Columbus. This is not necessarily a game that I thought would have been making the Games of the Week list at the beginning of the season, but with the way things have gone this year, this is a really big matchup. I mean, Columbus hasn't exactly had the best season so far. They're kind of just trying to fight for a playoff spot. Chicago has been significantly better than I and many people expected this season. So they're up there fighting right there with the Tampa Bays and the Carolinas and the Floridas right up in that division, near the top. So this is a huge game for both teams when they meet up this week. So Columbus is really going to want to get a win against a team higher than them in the standings. Chicago obviously going to want to stay up in the standings, so that's a huge game. Moving on now to Wednesday the 24th, we have the Lightning and Hurricanes playing again. So they played yesterday, they play on Monday, they play on Wednesday, and they play on Thursday, as we'll see in a minute. Everything about that matchup I said the first time applies to the second. And we also have the Rangers and the Flyers on Wednesday, and that is going to be a really fun game. It always is with those two teams. Like, when the Rangers and Flyers meet up, it's always a fun game. It's always usually pretty physical, an exciting game to watch. Just something, but when those two teams play, I mean, they're long time rivals, and it shows. And it doesn't seem to matter, what's going on for the teams, around that game, whether one team's good and one team's not, whether they're both good, whether they're both not, whether one's playing well, whether they're not playing well. It doesn't seem to matter what's going on around them. when these two teams meet up. No matter what the situation is, when they play each other, it's almost always a really fun, good game to watch. So I'm excited for that one on Wednesday. Then we get to Thursday, and Thursday's the first big day of this week that there are just a ton of standout games on Thursday. So we have the Bruins versus the Islanders. This is a huge matchup. Boston has really struggled with the Islanders this season. New York's beaten them twice in their 2 matchups already in regulation. So Boston is really going to look to get that monkey off their back. The Islanders just lost a couple games to Pittsburgh. Now, obviously, they'll have some games in between before this Bruins game on Thursday, but they really, really could use a win to get back on track and get some wins in the win column after losing a couple to the Penguins that they really didn't want to lose. Obviously, that's tough for them in the standings. So it's a big game between those two teams. Then Pittsburgh and Washington play the second time for their 2 games this week on Thursday. Obviously, everything I said about the first matchup applies to the second one. Just huge matchup there between teams fighting for playoff positioning. We have the final matchup of the week between Carolina and Tampa Bay. So they play a long series this week. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch and huge points on the line in the Central. And Chicago and Columbus play again on Thursday. And everything I said from the Tuesday matchup applies to the Thursday. That's kind of almost surprisingly a really big matchup in the Central. Then we get to Friday. There was only one game on Friday that really jumped off the screen at me, and it was the Bruins and Rangers. Those two teams have played some feisty games this season, to say the least. The last time they played, it was really physical. There were a couple of fights, some big scrums. Those two teams are building quite the rivalry. They play again on Friday, and I think it's going to be a really fun one. They also tend to play really close games against each other, which obviously adds to the excitement level as well. So I'm excited for that Friday night matchup between the Bruins and the Rangers. And then that brings us to Saturday, and there are a lot of matchups on Saturday that really kind of I thought were interesting. The Capitals and the Devils. Now they played today too. I probably should have put them on for the 21st as well, because they do play today, but I'm kind of interested to see what the standings are going to look like for this Saturday game on the 27th coming up, because New Jersey is back playing again. They're going to start to, not necessarily catch up in the standings because everyone else is still playing too, but they're going to get some more games under their belt, and I want to see if New Jersey's for real. I think there's a chance that they could be, especially with Blackwood in goal. He gives them a chance to win every single night. I think there is a chance that New Jersey could be for real, and that would make that Washington matchup really, really special on Saturday, because, again, if you throw New Jersey into that mix with the Capitals, the Islanders, the Penguins, somewhat the Rangers, if you threw New Jersey into that mix as far as fighting for a playoff spot, legitimately a chance to be a playoff team, you're going to have four or five teams fighting for 2 playoff spots in the East Division, and there are going to be some really good teams left out. So that's going to be really, really interesting if New Jersey can keep the success that they've had early in the year going. We also have Toronto versus Edmonton on Saturday the 27th. I mean, Matthews versus McDavid, the leading goal scorer in Austin Matthews versus the leading point scorer in Connor McDavid. I expect a really exciting up and down game there, probably a lot of offense, and that's just going to be a really huge matchup up in the North Division. Anytime McDavid and Matthews meet up, it's usually a fun one. So that's definitely a game of the week. The Penguins and Islanders, they play on Saturday, and man, this is a big game in the East. 2 teams fighting for playoff positioning. Pittsburgh has really had the Islanders' number so far this season, so the Isles are obviously going to want to change that and get some wins against their division rival in the Penguins, so that will be a huge matchup. Dallas and Tampa Bay, rematch of the finals last season. They are now playing, in the same division, so they play in the regular season this year, And that will be an exciting one. Dallas has had, a lot of issues with the weather down in Texas, so they haven't played. Now, they will play again before this Dallas Tampa Bay matchup, but, it'll be interesting to see how they look, after not really playing last week because of the weather situation. That will be an interesting one for sure. And then finally, the Hurricanes and the Panthers play on Saturday as well. And again, Florida's been a huge surprise this year in the best way possible. They have been absolutely outstanding. Carolina also really, really good. Almost quietly good this year. I feel like not that many people are talking about Carolina as a top team, but they are. They've been absolutely phenomenal this season. And that's going to be a huge matchup in the Central between those two teams. So really, really, really excited for that one. So those are your games of the week for this week. Quite a few, especially Thursday and Saturday. Those days are stacked with great games. And really looking forward to this week in the NHL. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store and donation link are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.